So, community and meaning are social cultural activities that are transformative. They're things that people do together, the doing of which makes something new out of what exists. And it's in the doing that the meaning, the transformation, the growth resides. In other words, the process and the product are inseparable. The process of creating community, the process of creating meaning is inseparable from the so-called products. I look at community not as a geographical or a membership body at all, not at all as a body, but as the process of a grouping of people coming together and bringing into existence a new social unit and sharing a commitment to its sustainability and growth. So as I'm a developmental psychologist, but I think in some way I'm a community psychologist, but I don't study communities out there. I study communities that I build. I look at meaning as a creative social activity, more like a poem than a dictionary, in that what it means is not so much relative to the existing language, but the meaning is created and associated with its creation, with the activity of making meaning. This is an activity theoretic position. Some people may have some resonances with the work of Lev Vygotsky. I do. And that is what I mean by activity theoretic, that the unit of study for a psychology or sociology or anthropology, for anything that has to do with human beings, is activity, not behavior. And it also has strong resonances with Wittgenstein, who understood the meaning of words to be in the activity, to words meaning language to be forms of life. So in other words, for me, community and meaning are, quote, in quotes, defined, because I'm not sure they can be defined, but to use that word for now, by those who create them, not by those outside or other. For the last 25 years I've been involved in building a community, a meaning-making community. Another way to put it is a community that practices the art of development, the art of continuous growth, of continuous transformation. Its history and its structure and its theoretical foundations are very fascinating. I was tempted to tell you all about that, but I decided I'm not going to. That what I wanted to do was to share a piece of it, to give you a sense, to invite you into it. And the piece I'm going to share is one of our many projects. It's called the All Stars Talent Show. And I'm trying to get this so it doesn't echo, but I'm down here. The All Stars Talent Show Network is one of 3 youth development projects that we've created. We also have a consulting firm that synthesizes theater and psychology called Performance of a Lifetime, and we go into corporations and nonprofit institutions like hospitals and help people deal with team building, leadership, all the things that corporations and large institutions need. We have a training and research center, the Institute, and we have 10 social therapy centers around the country. And we have a, quote, postmodern political theater called the Castillo Theater. The reason I chose the All-Stars Talent Show to share with you is, number one, I recently completed a video about it and wanted people to see it. And more important, it relates so directly to the theme of this conference, to the concern that all of us share as world citizens with understanding and intervening on the violence that is occurring all over the world in small ways and big ways, and all of our efforts to support people to create new forms of association. I'm going to tell you just a little about the All-Stars and then show the video. "18 years ago, we, and by we, I guess 18 years ago, that was maybe 100 people in New York City, various professions, myself included, as community organizers, we're just pondering what is it that we can do to organize young people. If you look at what progressive movements had done, they had, most of the efforts were not that successful, or at least didn't sustain themselves. And they were educational or cognitive or instructional or ideological. I am not criticizing any of them. I'm just making the point that they really didn't organize masses of young people, and they didn't sustain that. So we knew we didn't want to do something that was ideological. The second issue, in addition to how to organize young people, and I'm primarily talking about young people in the inner cities, and I'm primarily talking about Black and Latino young people. The second issue was how to intervene on youth violence. So for the first thing, the organizing effort, we knew we didn't want to do something instructional or ideological. For the second, how to intervene on youth violence, we knew from prior work with adults, but also our work with young people, learning problems, truancy, teen pregnancy, and so on, that the best way to intervene on these social problems is not to deal with them directly. Certainly we're not the only people who know that. I mean, there's lots of evidence out there that what you need to do, for example, if you want to develop an anti-violence program, is not teach people about violence and being nonviolent, but you want to help them create positive alternatives. Do something positive. You create some interest, you create self-esteem, you create new forms of association, and violence goes down. And what we came up with was a talent show network. In the United States, in the inner cities, talent shows are big deals. We took something that young people love, which is performing on the stage, and we helped them to create a tool for their emotional, social, and moral development out of that love of performing on the stage. You'll see that in the video. The second thing I'd like you to look for, to be aware of in watching, is what ownership is, and what it means when people create something own it, define it for themselves, and how transformative that is of their relationship to themselves, other people, and their environment. And the third thing, I hadn't really thought about this, but last night in listening to Gandhi's talk, when he was talking about some of the philosophy of nonviolence, and he was talking about relationship, and it struck me that the All-Stars is all about the 4 qualities of relationship that he talked about: respect, understanding, acceptance, and appreciation. So I think you'll see that also. The whole idea of this project as a microcosm of our community building, meaning making work is to help people create more options for how to be in the world. It's both as simple and as complicated as that. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn on the tape. It's about 25 minutes. Okay, and that should leave us plenty of time. Do I leave this on? Because I want to record it.
The Eastside Institute for Short-Term Psychotherapy is an international research and training center for new approaches to human development and community. Dr. Lois Holzman is the Institute's Director of Research and Educational Programs.
Our unique approach to human growth and learning has led to several programs that are at once cultural, educational, and therapeutic. One of the most dramatic success stories is the All-Stars Talent Show Network, a development program for inner-city youth.
From humble beginnings in a church basement in the South Bronx, one of New York City's poorest neighborhoods, the All-Stars Talent Show Network has become, in 2 decades, the country's largest and most successful educational and therapeutic anti-violence program for inner-city youngsters. The All-Stars involves 20,000 young people, ages 5 to 25, in cities across the country who create talent shows in their neighborhoods, supported by hundreds of middle-class and wealthy adults. Dr. Lois Holzman, a developmental and educational psychologist, has been with the All-Stars since the beginning and is delighted to have seen it come of age.
We decided to go behind the scenes of the talent show to see what we could discover. We trained 3 young leaders of the All-Stars to conduct research on their program. I've been doing research for 30 years now, and I've learned that the best way to do it is to have fun with it. Development is a joyous experience, and studying the All-Stars really drove that point home. So we came to you, Mary and I came to you on behalf of the Eastside Institute to invite you to participate in a research project with us, right? To us, this difference between behaving and performing has always been big. The All-Stars helps in situations of potential misbehaving to create something through performance that might be growthful instead of destructive. And we thought that how to take what you had all said, which is we should follow a few kids, but we think that who should be followed is you.
You want to call it an interview or a discussion? A discussion.
How big do we want these groups, though?
What 3 groups we gonna do when?
Now, how y'all gonna talk to these people?
I gotta write out a script.
No, I hate
Like, hello, this is Lisa from Development School for You. And I speak to Corey. Can't we just like have thoughts come in Just thoughts, people's thoughts. This is gonna take a
It's not
while.
gonna take that long.
You just came off stage audition, right?
Yeah.
You auditioned already. So how do you feel right now?
I feel alright. I feel happy because this is my first time actually on stage singing.
You don't feel any, not nervous?
I've been dancing all my life.
Yeah, we all have.
Like just another audition.
Yeah, we've done stuff.
So you performed on stage before together?
Yeah, for Broadway.
Tell me how you feel right now after auditioning.
I feel kind of upset because I don't think I did a good job. Because I was so nervous when I got up there and I kind of messed up. Well, everybody's telling me you did fine, but to me, I rate myself. And from a 1 to 10, I give myself a 1.
Yeah?
Yes, that's how bad I feel about my performance.
When y'all hear the word behavior, what does it mean to you?
The way you act.
Respect.
The way you act.
Your behavior, like when you're in public or be it with your family or your girl or whatever, the way you act.
Behavior, the way you conduct yourself, the attitude, the way people perceive you in your life, the way you maintain yourself every day.
What did you do in school that makes you think that you behave?
I respect my teacher.
Think y'all behave while you're in school?
Oh, of course.
Uh-huh.
It's all about just doing your homework, have some respect, don't say nothing, don't talk, that's it, and you'll pass.
You have to do.
No summer school, no nothing.
Do what you have to do.
When you think of the word performance, what do you think?
Dancing, singing, poetry reading. Performances, that's my heart. That's what I do.
Performance for me is expressing my personality.
Like when you hear the word perform, what do you think about?
To try my best.
Everybody perform anywhere. I mean, you could perform anywhere. Performance is somebody fronting in the street right now.
When you perform, you can pretend.
I could say performance is like to show others what talent we got, you know what I mean?
I guess it's being extraordinary. I find everybody else ordinary. It's a creative way of being, and that's extraordinary in itself.
I think you did a fantastic job.
I didn't know what to expect going in it. Like going to interview all these young people, all around the same age as me. I didn't know what to expect.
I just felt like Sam Donaldson or somebody. I felt like somebody.
We kept saying we just a Kathy B.
Yeah, we kept
I kind of had a lot of fun because you got to sit and talk with some of the performers and really like kind of pick their brain.
They all came to All Stars for one thing. I was to perform on stage, but it was like they all were different.
A lot of like singers and dancers and little kids and older kids and individual rappers and rap groups.
I felt a lot better when the person gave more. Then it kind of made our job easier.
How did you think you all performed, the three of you?
I think I got better as I went along.
Yeah, he did get better.
I think
He did.
because the first one I did, I think I did it by myself.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, let me ask these questions. And then it was like, at a certain point, I wasn't even asking questions that was on the paper.
Yeah, we were just like...
I was just, whatever, like based on what they said, I would ask a question on that.
Yeah.
And, that's when I knew, I was like, okay, well, I'm getting into this.
I think we all got better, actually, because when they said things, we wanted to know why, so we asked them why, or if they said something a little bit too small, we asked them to explain or expand on it.
The first two groups you spoke to, when you said, what is behavior, they're like, where'd you come from? What planet are you from? What are you asking? I don't understand.
What is behavior to you?
Can you rephrase the question, please?
I don't know. I mean, what do you mean by that?
I really don't understand what you mean by behavior.
And as you went along, you reframed the question.
Yeah.
When you saw there was a response of blankness, you reframed it.
Give me an example of like when you're behaving.
Always.
bad. You're always
She's
behaving.
always behaving. We have degrees of badness here.
I think that that performance question really threw me for a loop because most of them kept saying something about being on stage.
Performing is just being free on stage and doing what you like.
We're going to get up on the stage and do what we got to do or whatever it is.
On stage, it's like a whole different me. It's LZR. It's not Wayne. I mean, it's LZR.
At one point, I was like, why is everybody saying,
Yeah, because we're so used to...
Yeah, I mean, because I'm not...
Yeah. It seemed like some of them were thinking that maybe they're trying to talk about performance in everyday life, but nobody really said it.
You're performing like everywhere you go because it's like people are always watching you.
You perform when you go to work. You perform when you wake up in the morning. Perform when you go to school.
There was this other glimmer of performing has something to do with other people watching it.
Yeah.
That was interesting to me. Like
because a lot of them said that performing to them is going up on stage and making the crowd happy.
Performance means letting out my feelings and let the audience feel what I'm feeling.
I think of making the crowd feel what you're doing.
all of them, when they said behavior was something that was bad. It was like, behavior automatically was something bad.
Like, she behaves bad in school, or she behaves bad here. You didn't think about just behavior.
So when you hear the word behavior, what does that mean to you?
Bad performance. When you hear of behavior, it's not when you do something good half the time.
Yeah.
It's only when you misbehave, when you're doing something you're not supposed to.
No, when you hear behavior, like behaviors, you know.
I mean, some people said it in other ways, but we had to get that out of them. We had to actually ask them, well, is behavior only something that's bad?
I see what you're saying. It could be that what we're now identifying is people's first response, like those people who said went with negative for behavior, or the stage with performance. But then when you keep asking, and that's the importance of keeping, don't stop with that one first answer. Ask what else, or what about in school, or what about this, what you were doing. And I think you'll get more varied responses. The way you ended was really lovely. You thanked people and went around and shook their hands, and it was so now you have to do even better.
You up for it?
Yes.
Good afternoon and welcome to the All Stars Talent Show Workshop for our Canarsie show. If you get anything out of the All Stars, I want you to be self-conscious in your life that everything you do is a performance. Walking down the street, it's a performance. How you interact with your mother. You can decide if you want to be reactive, if you want to talk. You can decide if you want to hit somebody because you happen to be mad at them, or if you want to go somewhere and write a poem and then come back and talk about it later. You can make a decision how you're going to interact and carry out your life.
And the workshop is part of teaching you how to use this thing called performance so that you could use it in your everyday life.
Love is the answer to all things, and my prayers have been answered. You waited for me to say that it was okay and I would be okay.
Make time to lose time. Are you addicted yet? Still looking for someone to light your glamour cigarette?
Like a thief in the night, you stole my heart, and for the precious moment, I felt as free as a bird and as loved as a newborn baby.
I guess until I get tired of living sadly, I'll just keep making excuses to be unhappy.
So we need to create a skit, like a 2-minute skit. So, any ideas on what we need to do the skit on? How can we go about doing it?
First, we have to think of a setting.
We need a setting. We need a scene. You have
an idea?
Waking up, smoking a cigarette.
Okay.
And then
how about he fall asleep smoking a cigarette, and then the rest of the play is his dream?
And we'll all do a line from our poem, a good line about feelings, things that you're dreaming about, while you're smoking a cigarette. So everyone could come out. Does anyone object to this idea, or does everyone like it? It's cool. Now you're going to do your part. You should be in a chair. so that it can seem as if you're sleeping. We're all going to be in the wings, but we just need to know who's going to go first, so that it can flow properly.
Flick my acids everywhere.
What will be today and what will be tomorrow?
Want to live my life like this. I would like to be able to do many things.
See you smiling, but you're not happy.
I'm terminally affected and you had to rid of my infection.
I give long life to her, for there is no other who can take the place of my dear mother. What you were to me in life, you are to me in spirit.
Irresistible thoughts, but times are still hard.
When the sun sets, I dream.
All these thoughts, but hey, that's my life.
Give it up, number 5!
I like how they got the workshops going because that gives everybody a time to get to know each other. You know, through the day of that show, when that person get off the stage, you're going to make you a friend. You're going to be like, all right, you know what I mean? That was good. You did your thing.
It helps us put on a better performance for the day of the show. Like, for the audience, we won't be as nervous because we all know each other.
The fact that you composing it with people that you don't know makes it better because if you don't know them, they don't know you, so you feel like everybody's in the same situation, so it's really not that bad.
I gotta know you as a person in order to perform with you, so really I'm not feeling that, but in a sense I am feeling that to get me accustomed to start feeling that, you feel me?
It's more professional, more organized. I mean, everybody's on the same page.
I think also is much better because other talent shows, you audition and then you have the show. But when you go home between that, you feel kind of scared and you don't know what to do. And the workshop, I think, is much better because they have that so you can, they warm you up.
What I like was the no rejection part. Like at the audition, they were all like, everybody's going to be in the show. I was all like, okay, that's good because, I mean, how's it going to be, they say, okay, sorry, you can't be in the show. You're going to hurt somebody's feelings.
This here is ill, man. Everybody get a chance to know each other. You still got your even if you got people in the audience booing you, All-Stars ain't going to bull you.
Feel more encouraged.
You know what I'm saying? You feel you got more, exactly, you got more courage.
I was fascinated with this, and it was striking to me how cooperative everybody was.
It's always like that, but then they'll all read their poems, and then they'll make up a theme, and then somebody want to do this, that, or that.
Also, you want to have a successful show, I do.
Yeah, it is kind of.
You want to bring a lot of people. You want to make sure that the show is fun, that you enjoy the show. So, I mean, you do work hard at what you do.
They said they love the skits because they got to know other people. When we watched the actual putting together of the skits, what's so interesting is they hardly talk to each other. And that's a very different thing than how they might or you might say you got to know somebody. Because usually you talk to somebody.
It was good because you got to meet, like I said before, you got to meet new people and about them and stuff like that.
Now I get to know the people I'm around, I'm going to be in the show with.
Get to know everybody I perform with. A lot of people do connect during those. And it's like in the group, every time somebody reads the poem, the whole group claps. If you don't know them or not, everybody's applauding.
I was really impressed with your work during the interviews. I thought they were really good. It's hard to help people to feel free enough in front of a camera, particularly to talk. Yeah. And I think you all did a really, really very, very good job with that.
How do you guys feel right now?
Happy, because we got back positive feedback.
Yeah. I feel good, man. Still got butterflies, though, and it's already over.
How do you feel right now?
I feel relieved because I think I actually did a pretty okay job. Compared to how I was before the show, I was nervous and I was like, oh, I was shaking this and that. But once I got on my first time on stage, I think I did pretty good. I mean, I give myself a 7.
I feel pretty good. I never knew there was this much, like, talent.
Performance is everything you're doing. If you're being funny with your friends, that's performing. If you're not being polite at the dinner table, that's performing.
He's drama off the stage, he's drama on the stage. He's got to fight back, so instead of fighting physically, I fight lyrically.
How's performance an everyday thing?
People are always watching you, everything you do. Everywhere you go, I mean, somebody's always looking at you, noticing something. So it's kind of like the same thing, like on stage when you're performing. People are watching you, what you're doing.
I tell them just like that, do you, and do whatever you feel is you, not try to be like other people. Do you.
Yo, chill with the hating, man. Do what you gotta do and stop worrying about somebody trying to be better than you or trying to be better than other people.
If you want to do something positive and bring something back to the community, you can always do it. Don't be shy, don't be afraid, just do it.
I think we probably try to make the questions as simple as possible.
Yeah, we changed the question so it would be easy to answer.
After a certain, at the third time, we saw the groups of people. They kind of knew what we were getting at, and they knew how to answer the questions better.
By the third time we met with them, it was more of a conversation than anything. Because we were more comfortable with them.
We also talked to them before we taped and after we taped.
And then we got to the point they actually looked forward. For the third time, they was actually like, hey, when y'all gonna do it? When y'all gonna do it? Basically, our goal was to get a group of volunteers together and talk about what we feel about the All-Stars.
The reason why I keep coming here is because this is the only youth run program that I even know.
I used to sit home, watch TV, eat, and that's not productive for me. And it gave me something to do.
You're very enthusiastic about everything, and that kind of rubs off on you.
It gave me something to do on Saturdays. It gave me a reason to get out of Queens.
So I really didn't get out of Brooklyn. I was in Brooklyn. Just Brooklyn was my world.
Give back, not to give back, but to give back to people. It's unfortunate to be where I'm at right now. If I wasn't with the All-Star, I'd probably be outside hanging, playing dice with my friends and whatnot.
I volunteered because my cousin, because he wanted somebody to be there with him and he needed positive influence. And around my way where I live, it's like gangs and every day somebody's getting shot and it was not good for him. So I volunteered to show him that, you can do something positive for your community and do something really good to help people.
Watching those interviews, and I really was touched by this and moved. To everyone there, All-Stars means something different. And that seems a great thing. Because why wouldn't it be that way? I think too frequently, these kinds of programs, there's this notion of who the official person who wrote the program says it means, and you've got to fit into that meaning. The All-Stars is, in my opinion, wonderfully not like that. It means completely different things to different people. I think that's a measure of its success. One standard answer that came up again and again, which I was really fascinated with, is that there's nothing else to do.
Seemed like the thing to do. Seemed like a new family to join in. It was also something to do.
I was bored. It gave me something to do.
I found it very interesting and very revealing, and in some strange way, very positive. Because I think what it says about the All-Stars, and I think this is a great compliment for me, is it's something to do.
Personally, when I first got into the All-Stars, it was the same thing for me. There was nothing else to do. And I don't think it's negative at all. I think it's saying that, the All-Stars gives you something to do, which is good.
And you don't outgrow it. Like some programs have age things. So you could keep doing this till you're 50 or till you die. So
I'm 65. I'm still doing
You also get a big, strong acceptance here. Like no matter who you are, or what preference, anything in your life is, you get a huge acceptance, and it's not like that. It's not like that in a lot of places.
Why do you think it's not like that in a lot of other places? How do you understand that? Why do you think the All Stars is different than a lot of other places?
I probably think it's because other places receive money, like government money. Kids that are in gangs, you got to use this money for them to get out of gangs, or use this money for teenage pregnancy. Here's like everybody. Money comes from regular people, so it's like you can use the money basically for regular people.
And like when you see like Pam and Lisa talking to every volunteer and stuff, and like you may not have liked that person when you first met them, but when you see them, like Lisa accepting somebody, you might get to know the person, so you see why Lisa, likes them, so you learn from their examples.
Give you a certain kind of confidence to like go a step above what you normally do.
Do more things than you would usually do, to just be more outgoing.
They help me how to deal with tolerance and how to deal with different personalities.
Be with the All-Star, certain people, they bring that part of the person out of you, just to be outgoing and, speak out loud and tell you not to be afraid of anything, Like I could sit here and talk to you, and I could go to, Merrill Lynch and sit there and talk with people, and they understand what I'm saying, because I got that sense of mind from the All-Star.
And a lot of people have said, like, not just with the talent show, but with every aspect of All Stars, they've got a lot of opportunities. I know me and Corey personally, because like I don't know if but like DSY has given us so much.
I've been a participant for 11 years now. Started out as a performer, sang group, rap group, manager, dance and rap groups. Then I became a producer and I started learning all the behind the scenes aspects, and every day kept learning more and more. Learned, like he was saying, computer work, and they had basic computer skills, but they gave me the opportunity to learn even more. They have different people with skills in different areas, computers, acting, so forth, and I was able to learn off everybody else who was there. So basically, ever since I've been here, it's been an everlasting learning experience.
I think you asked if the All Stars helps the community. So then people had many different opinions about whether, it helps the individual, not the community, it helps the community, but it helps the individual, it helps the community, and this whole back and forth thing.
It helps the people in the community who join it, and if it teaches anyone, or if you get from it to be a leader, then you yourself can come back and help your community.
When they have their shows, they're getting people off the street. So that in that way, they're helping the community. They're helping the community at large, because they're getting some of the young people off the street who really don't have anything else to do.
I get how it can help.
Yeah, it brings
a
the
group
community
of people
together.
And to help bring their community together, or bring two different communities together.
It helps a person, and then they can in turn help their community.
I think you're not being generous enough to yourselves in terms of what this does for the community. Because I think it really makes a difference to a community when people come together, namely yourselves and other people, and create something positive in the community. I think the community experiences that. Even if they're not in the show, don't come to a show, I think it's something that people talk about. If something positive happens in a community, created by people from the community, namely yourself and other people, I think that has a big impact on the community. I think you're super. I think you're great in providing a lot of leadership. In addition to having fun, or maybe because I think people watch the All-Stars, look at the All-Stars, even from a distance, and get very positive vibes from it, get a very positive attitude from it. I think that's about as important a thing as you can bring to a community.
Performance really helps you to fit into different situations.
When you perform, you got to be yourself all the time. You can't, bring yourself down for nobody else. You got to be up on point in order to perform.
It's okay to rhyme about fighting and shooting and things like that, as opposed to going and actually doing it. It's much better to express your anger on the stage than on the streets. Plenty of times we go up there and dance or sing or rhyme or whatever, just frustrated. You need something to do. You need a way to vent, and that's a better way of doing it than to go on the street and get yourself into trouble.
As soon as you step out the house, or even in your house, you perform. When you wake up, you perform because you decide to perform a good job for the day. You know what I'm saying? You put on your mask, really.
In some ways, that's the whole point of the program. The point of the program is helping people to understand that we all do endless different kinds of performances. You perform, as people in the group were saying, with your family, you perform this way. When you're hanging out on the corner, you perform this way. When you're going down to Merrill Lynch to do this kind of thing, you perform. And that we're all capable of doing endless kinds of performances, different kinds of performances. To me, that's the central point of the whole program. That's what development is, to me at least. Development means learning that we're not locked into one performance for everything we do, but we all have the capacity to do different performances in different situations, and that's growthful.
Here at the Institute, we believe that learning and development take place everywhere, not just in a classroom or an office. That's why we bring our practice to where the kids are, to the communities where they live, and to the activities that they care so much about. Performance is a lot of fun. Maybe that's why it's so growthful. To hear thoughts, impressions, questions. The floor is open. Yes. Yeah. The funding is very interesting. When we started, we went out on the street, myself, other people like me, and also went door to door and asked people to support something positive. When we went to the door, we'd be two people. We had the largest canvas in the Northeast. And when we went on the street, we did that as a performance with about 5 people at a time and did like a 30-second thing on the street. Hi, I'm Lois Holzman. I'm a developmental psychologist, and I'm out here because I care about what's happening in our communities. Take a minute. I want to ask you to help me support kids doing something positive in their neighborhoods. And people would give $1, $5, $20, $100. Of course, most people would walk right by. Some would spit on you, you know, the usual. Out of this activity, you know, we would ask people, we'd like you to give us your phone number if you'd like to be kept abreast of what the All-Stars is doing, and we're going to ask you for more money. And so those people who gave phone numbers, we called back. This grew slowly. And gradually, I don't know, I think there were something like 30, 40, 50,000 individuals whose names we had, and we called them. And some of those people were wealthy. Wall Street people cared a lot about what was going on, and they gradually started to take on the fundraising themselves. So I don't know the figures exactly, but the All-Stars is entirely funded through individuals. Now there are companies who do some expansionary work. There are 4 to 6 shows a year in New York City. So that sequence of audition, workshop, show happens 4 to 6 times a year in New York. There's a program in Newark, New Jersey, Philadelphia, and Oakland, and starting in Atlanta. Yes.
These kids get individual therapy along with the performance
No. Yes. I think you're asking two questions, and I will, let's see, the first one, we believe this is therapeutic for kids. It seems clear to me from what they say it is. We at various times have offered therapy. The stigma, I cannot tell, I mean, some people are nodding, so the stigma against therapy is so strong, there is no way those kids are going to go into therapy, as usually understood. There are different groups that come. There's a lot of meetings for the core group, plus you didn't see all the workshop. But, you know, they deal with things as they come up. When gay groups, for example, want to perform, and what is that about? Competitiveness. They talk about abuse. We actually do have another program that is therapeutic in the high schools, and I'd be happy to talk to you about that. The second thing, though, about the concern about performance and core identity is a much more important issue, deep to my heart. On the one hand, I think the answer to your question is in what the kids say. Do they seem reflective? They do to me. I'm just amazed. I love watching this video. I just love the kids. I can't believe them, but they're normal. They're ordinary. On the more methodological, political, theoretical level, and some of this you might know because you know my work a little bit, is I think the concept of identity is something we need to get rid of really seriously. I think it has everything to do with violence. It has everything to do with people not getting along. And so, yes, I think they're reflective. Our understanding of performance is that's what human growth is, that you continuously create who you are through performing as other, by incorporating the other. So that's like a quick answer. Yeah. Sure. This is an example, an application of the social therapeutic approach with a grouping of people for whom therapy is not, at this point, an option. Social therapy as a therapy is mostly a group-oriented approach, meaning we do what's called individual work, but the modality that we prefer is group. It's a therapy that takes what people bring into therapy, the issues in their lives that they are concerned about and want help with, and relates to that and helps people develop emotionally through creating the group in which those things can be talked about in new ways. So it might look a little bit or exactly like other therapy, and people talk about being depressed or being suicidal or not getting along or being unemployed or wanting to have more friends or whatever, sexual issues, whatever they talk about. The issue is what the group does with it, does with that. And so the focus of the therapeutic work is creating the group. It doesn't look like other group therapy, which often is every individual gets their turn or whatever relating to the therapist. But the therapist is like the director of a therapeutic performance, helping people to create the group. And what that does is challenge individualism. It helps people literally create. I mean, when I talk about building community or building the group, it's not a metaphor. Building a group is just as concrete as building a house. People get together, there are these elements, and what you do is take those elements and create something entirely new out of the particular elements, and that's what the therapy does. And we found, and people say this, that doing that is extremely growthful to them.
Yeah.
Number of things, perhaps you elaborated on your own thinking. One, I like the approach that it's not problem-oriented. And putting it in terms of kind of an existential sensitivity, it seems like you were focusing more on the sense of aliveness, the sense of being, learning to be more self-conscious, make choices, being more available to encounter with other people. And so I think that in that sense is from an existential in comparison to, okay, this disorder, that disorder, and we're going to apply this technique. So it's really making them gain a sense of their own being. And that is something people take in all of their life. So I found that impressive. Another point is one is familiar with kind of the existentialism of the 19th century. The model was pretty much gaining authenticity through isolation and alienation, whereas you're opposing to the focus on gaining authenticity in the community, which is, I think, is an important balance. You don't have to go off and isolate yourself like below or into or have any relationships. You start to get an authentic sense of self. So I think that is important development. Much more aware of that. Everybody wants to be isolated. It's very, So I think learning, being more aware of that process and learning more about how that works is important. I tend to agree a little with identity. In looking at that, you need to see that it's an illusion, that it's not fixed, that it can change. But I look at people behind it, it's more difficult. I believe, somebody might go online. It would be hard for me to go online and learn what it's like to be a black boy out of Brooklyn. I worked with James on the Lower side of the path. And I didn't come out of that background. Confident, we said not killed, but I just think it takes a little more time to process self-awareness and also how people react to us. So that is another challenge. These kids were making great progress, but if you do that into a suburban neighborhood, it would be a challenge. They would have all the stereotypes from like that. That's a lot for any of us. Just like if the white boy went down there, I don't have my tattoos, I don't wear the hat, but I don't know, maybe you can reflect a little bit on that.
I found what you said extremely helpful. Thank you. And relating it to existential and other therapies and philosophies. Yes, they certainly, how others see you. I mean, I think they're learning an important lesson in how we put it sometimes, or how they put it, is how to develop, how not to be reactive. It has everything to do with how not to be violent or how not to be mean or nasty or abusive. They, like the one guy with the American flag hat, I think it was, kerchief, I think he was the one who said that he can go down to Merrill Lynch and he can talk to people there. In this other program, which is called the Development School for Youth, which is a 12-week leadership training program that white, middle class, and wealthy adult professionals in different industries work with the kids, and they go to the financial center and they learn how to do resume writing and mock interviews and so on. This one kid was sharing, because they do public orientations and graduations, was sharing that, you know, he was going to his orientation and he had a suit on, and so all the kids in the neighborhood said, you know, what'd you do? You going to court? And that was just this confrontation with his identity and his community's identity and his conflictedness about feeling like awful that he was wearing a suit and he wasn't going to court, and feeling very proud that he was, so that he was creating new options of what to do and literally what it meant to wear a suit. I don't know, you're looking at your watch. We have to, can you take this one last comment?
I'm fascinated with what you're talking about. I wish you had you went with something specific to the show, but I'm also fascinated with the theoretical part. And the one part that it's what I call historical, the historical identity of knowing a person. When you said community isn't a place or isn't, and I sort of thought, I think we have to be careful of our terms, because there's another type of community where a person is known throughout their developmental stages. So they're reflected back as they were a child, as they were an adolescent. So you're known historically, and like when you think of Vygotsky, in Europe they call it historical cultural, here they call it socio-cultural. And I think it's North American bias to connect in community as process, and the historical, the knowing a person through time, through place, through even generations. And I would even say you might even want to look at, we are also who we are through not just our parents but our grandparents. And that sense of identity, which is fluid, which is a construction, I'm not saying it's true, but it also is a deep sense of community, which I also think we are struggling with how to reclaim.
I not only agree with that, but would go even further about historical identity being connected to all people throughout the entirety of history. Yeah, I totally agree. We have to stop. Thank you very much. I'd love to continue the conversation in the halls and other places in the next few days. Thank you.